Welcome to The Localist, a podcast for small business owners where we talk about the highs and lows of building community through entrepreneurship. I'm your host, author of the Localist book and small business consultant, Carrie Rollwagen. The Localist is sponsored by Infomedia, a Birmingham-based website and media company where I work as senior vice president. At Infomedia, we help small businesses get big results online. Our guests today are Myres and Stephen Peacock of Word of Mouth Podcast. So the Word of Mouth Podcast tells the stories of people doing cool things in Birmingham. You might think that the Localist does the same thing, and we kind of do. But both of us listen to each other's podcasts, and I kind of drill down a little more into the business side of things and typically have business owners on the podcast. And sometimes Myres and Stephen do the same thing, but they also kind of get the story of how did you even get to building this podcast, kind of the story behind the story a little bit. And sometimes they have people on who are just doing interesting things and they don't necessarily have to be business owners. So there is a lot of overlap, and there are also distinct differences that we will actually talk about more in the podcast. Today's podcast is part of what we have been calling a mega podcast. There's also a little bit of a meta podcast because it's a podcast about podcasting. But I went on their show, and that ran last Friday, and now they're coming on my show. So you can kind of get a feel for more of their story and more of my story by listening to both. And when I came on their story, I talked about how I built The Localist all the way from when it was just an idea to a blog to a book. So if you're interested in that story, it is all there for you. We'll put links in the show notes to all of that. I enjoyed this conversation so much for obvious reasons because I like talking about podcasting, and I really enjoyed these guys, so I hope you do too. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
This is really, I haven't done a podcast before where I was on somebody else's podcast and then the tables are turned, so I'll probably talk a lot less this time, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see who wins.
This is our first time being on a podcast.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I've probably
time.
done something like with a church at some point in my life, but probably this is the first real one I've been on.
We've had our friends interview us on our podcast, but that's not the same thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, we've done that a little bit here too, so I totally get it. I kind of want to start with the most obvious question, which is just why did you start a podcast?
I think Stephen had the idea first.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. People ask me this a lot, and I don't really remember. But
So you had an idea. It was October of 22.
Yeah, probably.
You had the idea to start the podcast, and we were going to call it the Curiosity Plague.
Yeah. Let's see if you find the cure, it's not worth living or something like that.
Yeah.
It was my buddy Zion came up with that name, but I actually came across a video. Griffin, our friend, shout out Griffin. But yeah, he took a video of us when we were starting it when he was still in Birmingham, and I found it the other day and I rewatched it thinking it was a different video, but it was me explaining to my wife for the first time why I actually bought the podcast board, I guess.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Why are you doing this again?" And I was like, I don't really know if there needs to be a reason for everything. I just know that, or they're I don't know, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that people have ideas all the time. We get online, and at this point I was heavily online, I was chronically on Instagram at this point in my life, and I just remember getting this fatigue of always being inspired but never actually getting to practice anything. So I think that was a lot of what made me jump off the diving board and start it. But I think in general I think over time I've found the words that I love local economy. I love the fact that there's a scene in Birmingham, and I love that we get to be a part of the voice in that. And then just in general, it's kind of morphed even bigger than that too into we love people who per se get off the porch and actually do stuff with their lives, and we love exploring those stories. So that's why we wanted to have you on, and that's why we wanted to have on the other probably 85 guests that we've had, is we just love people that actually get off the porch and do stuff. Yeah. And we want to give people different avenues to communicate about that too.
We had tried to do a couple of different pseudo business ideas. We had almost started a cafe once or twice.
Yeah.
still have almost started a cafe
Yeah.
2 or 3 more times. But this was
a
like
cafe with a studio in the back. And you can,
right.
Like, watch the
One day,
recording.
that's
Yeah.
probably what'll
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
happen. But
Yeah.
we're like, a podcast it's a pretty easy
Mhm,
lift.
mhm.
Like, you buy a soundboard,
Mhm.
and then we like borrowed some mics, and then just started, and it was $250 or whatever. And I said I would do all the production stuff because Stephen at the time was like in grad school and had 2 jobs, and I had
Yeah.
1 job.
Mhm.
So I was like,
Yeah.
I've got spare time. And so I did all the production stuff and kind of taught myself how to do half of it. I knew how to do the other half.
Yeah.
And I brought like the discipline to it. I was like, we should do this, but we should be like consistent and say,
Mhm.
let's do this like once a week. And so we batch recorded like 4 episodes, I think, that December,
Yeah.
like around like people's Christmas break and stuff, and then started releasing them like the first Friday that next year, 2023
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
or 2024. 2024.
Yeah.
I was married already. That's what it was.
Yeah. It was 2 years ago. Whatever
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
I honestly, the longer and longer I'm like in the post college adult life.
Yeah.
The whole year confusion thing, I relate to it more and more. I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah, I was worried when I came on with you guys. Like, I actually had to look on the Birmingham wiki to get some dates. I was like, when was Church Street? I don't remember. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I could tell you the order that I did things, but I don't know the year.
Sure.
I think the community connection, like with a cafe and a podcast, I think may not make sense to a lot of people, but I feel like it makes total sense. Like, some cafes are all about the quality of like the espresso or whatever.
Yeah.
And some are like Church Street, at least at the time, and I think now also is fair to say, like, is actually way more about the human connection, and coffee was just books and coffee. Like, we did like this. Simon Sinek has this like golden circle series. That's like, what's the main point?
Mhm.
And our main point was like connection, and like
Mm.
coffee and books help you connect with like each other and the outside world. So that was like what we were really selling. So I feel like that actually is a really natural fit, and a podcast is just another way to do that.
Yeah. My friend Jacob is thinking about doing this right now, and I'm trying to push him off the porch, but he really wants to open up a mutual space, like a kind of like if you could take that idea for, I forgot what it's called, the idea that Caleb Chansey did, where all the singer-songwriters got together and they would do
Is
that
it
big
Grey
event,
Haven?
like Grey
Yeah,
Haven.
Grey
They would do it
Haven.
like once a month or something like that.
Mhm.
But essentially turning that into like a space like all the time. And I honestly kind of love the idea. He wants to open up a space where it's like, it's a cafe, obviously, because everything has an espresso machine now. And then you have like a studio, like a podcast studio, and you have a music studio, and anyone can use it whenever.
Mhm.
And the whole idea is like, at some point, you're going to make something that's going to strike gold and you're going to make money. Like, but the more like volume you have or whatever. But I think that with the element of, it's like very odd how like hospitality is really big in this like world of like, I don't know, individualism and stuff. And like in an increasingly isolated world, hospitality is growing like crazy, which is like a very oxymoronic trend, I feel like. But I feel like that avenue is like so cool and a way to bring people back. So I've been thinking about that a lot, actually, about how like cafes are funny because like no one really, like people like probably roll their eyes at specialty coffee more than they ever have right now.
Mhm.
But there's also like more coffee shops being open than maybe in the history of like mankind.
Yeah.
Like we're pushing like European numbers in America right now, I feel like, with cafes. So I don't know. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but yeah, I think that desiring connection has always been like a pretty core desire of ours too. I remember
Yeah.
that being like a huge motive, and it makes sense in my brain, even though it doesn't really make sense at face value, that we wanted to start a podcast in hopes to like push back against the isolation epidemic, like the loneliness epidemic that is happening. And I think we have. I hope people feel like more connected to Birmingham because of our podcast.
Yeah.
I think people feel like they're like, oh, like I actually want to go here. I actually want to go here. I actually, I think about shopping local because our podcast exists
Yeah.
or something. So I feel
Part
like it's
of-
an invitation into the world
Mhm.
off of online.
Part of our, like, we became friends in college, or it was sort of Stephen was after college, but
Yeah.
we became friends because we both went to Sanford together. And like when I was growing up, I had friends and I was social, but I kind of thought that I was more of an introverted person. I just spent more time alone. And when I got to college and made really good friends, I realized that I actually just had bad friends.
Yeah.
When I got to college, I had really good friends and I wanted to hang out with them all the time. And now, like, anyone who knows me would describe me as much more extroverted. And like, the basis for our friendship, we became fast friends because we were both like inviters. Like, we just wanted people to come and be a part of what we were doing.
Yeah.
And that was especially helpful and useful in college, and easy in college because everyone's so spontaneous. And so we had our core group of like 4 or 5 guys. But if we were out and like ran into someone, we would just invite them along, and they might end up becoming like a core part of our friend group, or it might be just like these random 2 people that we hang out with for like 2 weeks and then never see again.
That happened a lot.
And then they pop up on my timeline now, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that person exists. But I feel like that's really core to kind of who we are, like as individuals outside of the podcast, is just trying to be people who like welcome others.
Well,
and it's hard to kind of translate that into a podcast sometimes because it is online, but like that's what we want it to be somehow or another. And I've, from people who've talked to me, they see that. It's harder for me to see it because I'm so like in the editing zone or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I feel like you kind of mentioned the scene before, and that is, I think this is a little bit what you guys are doing, like, because I feel like I remember that time when it's like, post college, and it's like you have friends from college and you're bringing other people in and you're kind of finding out about all of this stuff. And then eventually some of that shuts down, or it also depends like what kind of jobs people have. Like, are they freelancing where you can go to coffee shops, you can run into people, or is it just like I'm locked into this place, or you move or whatever? And so if you're kind of like plugged into the scene, you like know about this stuff, but if you're not, you don't. And I feel like the podcast kind of gives you a way that even if you're like, you know, maybe I live outside of downtown or whatever, like I still kind of know what's going on, so I can connect with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's like interesting, you know, I don't really know. I really kind of hate when people are like make these like broad stroke claims about generations and like time periods and stuff, but I do think it's interesting. One of the things that's very true is like I can go up to someone who like let's just use Stern as an example. Stern's like probably one of the coolest things that's happening in Birmingham right
Alexander Stern.
Yeah,
he's
owns,
been on Deli LA. Both of our podcasts, right?
Oh,
he's been on you guys,
So he's like, in so many ways, I feel like he's like an ideas person. He's making stuff happen, which is really cool. And but I think if I went up to Stern, like, and I'm an average person in today's world, if I went up to Stern and I was like, hey man, what's your name? That for some reason is super weird and major awkward to a lot of people in our like society because of what we've done to develop it. But if you went up to Stern and you said, hey, I was listening to a podcast and I learned this about you, tell me about it, it's like the most normal thing ever. Which I don't know exactly what that says about our society, but I definitely think that that's something that it's worthy of tapping into, because I think you're so right that, especially for people like, I don't know, I'm just thinking about Grayson is super interested in all this stuff. He's like working across the hall right now, but like he has a 9 to 5. Like he can't, like I only see Grayson and his wife Adair at Whammy on Saturday. Like I don't see them at Whammy on like Tuesday at 3 because my job allows it and theirs doesn't, or whatever, you know? So there's a lot of people who want to be a part of it, but yeah, like they're limited to maybe only being a part of it on their commute or something, or maybe like people listen to our podcast like while they're sitting at their desk doing Excel or email, but they're listening or whatever. So it's just a way to make people feel connected, and when they show up on Saturday, they don't feel like they're dipping their toes into a completely different world or something. So I've never really put words to it like that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Do you find, because I personally find this sometimes, that some people don't listen at all, which is fine with me. And then some people listen so much that they feel like they've talked to me and they haven't. And I'm like, our friendship is actually dying. But you hear, in my opinion, but you listen to me every week.
Yeah, I had lunch with a guy yesterday who like as a friend from college, and he was a little bit younger than me, but like I would consider him a friend, but I'm not super close with him as far as like how much time I spend with him. I just kind of like see him at gatherings and stuff. And the way that I was talking to him, I realized that like, oh, he was asking me some questions about the podcast and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this guy like knows me better than I know him for sure. Ben Becker. It was honored. And I was like, wait, we should hang out more because I want to like feel like I can reciprocate that, you know?
Yeah. It is such a weird thing. I never know whenever people, I just never know how to respond when people talk to me about the podcast at all. But yeah, sometimes I will get like, I really love when this happens, but people will listen, like people that used to be really close friends but live in a different city or whatever, and they'll listen to an episode and they'll call me afterwards, and they'll be like, I feel like I just hung out with you for the past hour, but I wanted to hear from you. And obviously when you talk to me as like a person, it's like very different than when you hear me on a podcast, because it's very like more or less it's just performative whenever you're on a podcast because you want it to be helpful. But whenever you're talking to me in person, it's like there's a little bit more rough around the edges.
Some more filler words.
So there is a weird element to it, you know, because to a certain extent you're putting out like this like put together version of yourself too. Has that been the experience for you too?
I mean, the different version of myself for sure, because I'm actually like pretty introverted and like before the podcast, generally no matter who's coming in, I'll get like real nervous, and like everybody who works with me is like, you're being so weird. Like you're like, because I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Like, can I do this? Or like we had these live events, the same thing. I freak out every single time, but usually I can like turn it on and be like, okay, this is what I'm just doing a different, not like a different side of myself, but it is performing. It's also like, to some extent, like being the person I need to be to like have the conversation I want to have, if that makes sense. But it is weird. It's less weird with my actual friends because they understand, like I've done this either podcasting or speaking or whatever. Even before this, I was a journalist. So it's the same, like similar interview. So they've known that for a long time, but more people who know me from events or a podcast first are kind of like, why are you being so weird? I'm like, this is me. There's
a sticky note that I have on my desk at work because I work a half day on Friday, and then we usually record Friday afternoons. And it's a quote from Layla Hormozi, who's like a female business leader. And it says, "You're nervous because you care."
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like what helps me like go to the interview and be like doubting myself the whole time. And I'm like, no, it's just because I really want this to go well. Like this is good. Just like embrace the nerves.
And I feel like that reframe is a lot more helpful to me. I had read something years ago that was like reframe nerves as like excitement, which I tried to do, but I'm like, that's not what this is. Like it's just like, but I want it to be good because, you know, like you're inviting people in. It's like you guys are taking time out of your day. I think vice versa every time you do that. And then I get nervous when I'm posting it too because I'm like, I want them to like it and feel like I represented them well. And that's always scary. Like, did I spell their name wrong? Do they hate this photo? Like,
and you want it to perform well so that they feel secure about the way they spent their time.
I'm like, here's my episode Kierkegaard reference again. I was like literally reading this counter. Okay, so all right, so this is kind of crazy, but this like, sort of makes sense. But I was reading this morning that there's this book, I forgot the girl's name, that was the chief of labor whenever Roosevelt was in office. But when Roosevelt initially learned about the Holocaust, he like denied it. He acted like it wasn't real, and because he was like, there's no way people like journalists are over exaggerating, whatever. And then he realized it was real, and he was like super confused. He was so confused and so distraught. He went to church, which I thought was fascinating. And his like priest at the time told him to read Kierkegaard on original sin in this like thing called it's this book called like on anxiety, and it's like this super interesting thing where he like talks about how like when you stand on a cliff, you get nervous about falling off, but you also get nervous about the fact that you could jump. And he talks about it's like the dizziness of choice. And and I think it's so interesting how sometimes like nerves like are so tough, and it keeps us like not necessarily afraid, it just keeps us disoriented. And I think that a lot of times because I was thinking about this too. Like, one of the main reasons that we started this is because we wanted to normalize middle talk. It was like this word that we like, not shallow talk, because it was like you show up to a wedding and people are like, I don't want to get deep with this person, but like I hate small talk, and then it keeps and it's like, I think that there needs to be a recovery of like that art of like, I actually love being in the grocery store and making like a dumb joke to the clerk, or whenever I'm in an elevator and an old person nails like the 25-second like old person joke in the elevator. I'm like,
you love that.
Like,
like,
because like that area of life where it's like you can just have like almost in a way like thoughtless, meaningless, just conversation is like so cool. Because I think a lot of times our like disorientation with like what this is all gonna mean like keeps us like I don't know, it just keeps us like afraid or something like that.
And it helps remind you that these other people around you are also human when you like laugh with them in line at the grocery store or something.
Like,
but it's this idea of like something between like deep philosophy and like what's the weather, like somewhere in the middle is like something that's like substantial and unique instead of just like a mindless interaction.
We were just at the beach in this like big, like very stereotypical like Gulf of Mexico like beach condo, and we were in the elevator going, I can't remember, I think we were going down, and we got on the elevator with this guy that was like spring breaker through and through, like had like the huge pit viper sunglasses and like
cut off
tee. And he said, if we got on, he was like, where are y'all from? We were like, Birmingham. Where are you from, man? And he said, the Quad Cities. And I looked at him and I was like, I think a lot of people would just be like, oh, shit. But I looked at him and I was like, what the heck is the Quad Cities?
What is it?
It's in Iowa.
Okay.
And he said it's near Iowa City. To which I still don't know anything about Iowa City.
It didn't really help us. It didn't help.
Also, this dude looked like he was from like Coleman or something. Like, he did not look like he was from Iowa at all. But and he just like kind of laughed and didn't really say anything. And I was like, all right. But that was
Never
like,
mind.
it's just one of those moments. Like the elevator is just one of those moments where I feel like it magnifies.
Yeah.
And the red light. I feel like the red light in modern day magnifies like how just like terribly like we just cannot deal with boredom at all. Like something always has to be going on, or else we like want to go crazy or something.
Well, I feel like I really like the concept of the middle talk, and I think that what you're saying is true, where there is like this which I like the differentiator, because small talk we like gets a bad rap. And I agree when it's like, how are you? Fine. Like, okay, nobody wants to do that. But yeah, you don't want to dive into Kierkegaard immediately. Unless you're on a podcast. But I also think in a weird way, it's a podcast in a weird way is middle talk too. Because you have like in-person talking and you have like social media clips. And I feel like a podcast I enjoy also because it's long form. So it's still, we are all still performing. There are mics here. We're not going to forget that. Like the same as you guys, like most people are going to structure what they're talking about. But even still just having a longer conversation, I feel like more stuff comes out. And we really miss that because usually we're just interacting with like maybe 20, 30-second clips.
Yeah, my favorite moment of any podcast, and it doesn't happen every time we record, but if you can get to like 45 or 50 minutes in and we're recording for an hour and a half, there are times where you can find like this juicy topic or this like really hard-hitting kind of deep part of the whole conversation. And that's the moment, like probably the only moment in my life where I actually feel like I understand what flow state is, because I'm just like so dialed in on like that. That's like what I'm chasing every time we record.
Like runner's high.
And we'll hit it with a Caleb Chansey. But if we don't know someone and they're not that deep and philosophical, sometimes it's a hit or miss if we get there.
But I know what you mean. Like I feel the same thing, and not with every podcast, but where you have something where you're like, oh, this is different. Like it's going into not just like, what did you do? Like with me, it's typically business. It's like, what's your business? How do you run inventory? Like, and that's not, I think that stuff is helpful. Part of the reason I do it is to help other small business owners, but also it's like you really want to get to their story and what's different. And I know what you mean, because sometimes you just get these moments that are like, this is why I'm doing this. Like, and that is I mean, it's really cool. It doesn't happen
Yeah.
every time.
When you get people to like actually talk. I think that's another thing that's fascinating too, is like one of the things that we get really excited about is a lot of times people will, I don't know how to say this without like coming across as like maybe rude or something, but like a lot of times I'll talk to people, and because I'm like just an endlessly curious person, people will be like, you're just like, this is a compliment I get a lot, is you're just so good at talking to people. And I don't really know if that's like, you know, when sometimes people talk about like the Enneagram or something, and they'll passively talk about like this horrible trait about themselves, and then they'll just like passively blame it on some personality test. And it's like, that doesn't have anything to do with your personality test. That's just a bad quality that you need to work on or something like that. So it's the same sort of idea, I feel like, with like one of the things that I get really excited about is, or that got us really excited about the podcast, was Myres and I would like go, and we would go into a party, and Seinfeld like deeply like influenced us in this, not like literally Jerry Seinfeld, but the idea of the show, where they would go into a party and they would just like, they would need nothing from anyone because they knew that they were like secure in their friends, they were okay with it. So they would go in and they would talk to anyone about anything. Like I just think about like when they're at the Long Island party and Elaine's like, the dingo ate my baby. like she just like looked at this person, and it was like this, and the person like didn't even know what to do about it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's also like, it's kind of a funny way to filter people, because you can come in and just kind of be a little bit odd.
Yeah.
And then people who are also a little bit odd will like resonate with you, and then you like quickly find the person you actually want to talk to, and you don't have to go through like talking about the weather with 4 people until you find them.
Yeah, and like the sheep at the party, the people that are just going to be like, you know, they're going to think that anything is annoying and everything is awkward or whatever, they quickly get disinterested in you, and I don't really want to talk to those people anyways. But I think that it helps you like filter. Anyways, but I feel like one of the things that I feel like a podcast does offer is it offers those like points of like connection or points of interest, and whereas like a lot of people like aren't really good at or don't really know how to like find those in just average conversation. Whereas like if I was like sitting, like I remember sitting at the bar at Lafette the other day, and I forgot the gentleman's name, but the bartender had like worked all over and was like this super cool dude. But I like was like, yo dude, like where'd you learn to make this? And it wasn't like this, I just needed to fill empty space, but it was like I genuinely was interested in like what he was doing and stuff. And then we like jumped in, and I
you have
like
the plague of curiosity.
Yeah, the curiosity plague. Yeah. So yeah, I love it though.
I think that's a lot of the reason, same thing, like the reason I did a podcast or when I was a reporter before, it's just like, I think it is amazing that most people will just answer your questions. Yeah. And it's like...
yeah, genuinely.
You just ask...
And you can be really blunt, and they'll still answer usually because they feel awkward if they don't.
Yeah. Like maybe people who have had media training, politicians, I'm not interviewing them, they would be more polished. But most people are just like, yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah. And I think that's like so fascinating, or just being like, how did you get here? How did you do this? Or why did you do that? And it's... A podcast gives me a way to do that, you know?
I think that, like, I love meeting famous people in the wild, but like anyone does, I guess. But I think it's interesting if you go up to someone and you're like, wait, I love you. Yeah. They're just like, what am I supposed to say right now? Yeah. But if you go up to them and like genuinely ask them about what they've created, they like love it, you know? And I think that's such a fascinating trend that like people like want, like when they meet Harry Styles, they want to be like, they want that connection from Harry Styles, but you can't get it by this like weird like obsession like selfie thing. But if you were to be like, yo, I like love Carla's song, like is Carla a real person? Like he would probably like laugh it off, but he would probably actually answer it or something like that. Or if you were to like really know ball and be like, Harry, in 2012 when you when your mom passed away and da 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 da, why, like how did that make, like it would probably be, maybe that would be a little creepy, but anyways, like when
you gotta find the middle.
But most of the time, like asking somebody about something real is really good. Which again, like bringing it back around, like creating your podcast is people can listen to that, then you can see somebody, especially in Birmingham where it's like we're kind of like a big small town or whatever, where you can see somebody at a coffee shop and then just say like, oh, I heard you on this. Like, I really love that you're doing this or something. And it's almost never weird to do that. And then, like you're giving people an entry point because they know that.
Mm-hmm. You're like a bridge almost.
Yeah. It's kind of been fun for me to see the common guests that we have and also the different, like sometimes you get people that I'm like, why didn't I get that person?
You definitely could.
But then also when you were first on my radar, I look back and we'd had like a couple common guests. At first I was like, oh no, do they think I'm copying them? And then I look back and I was like, oh no, there's enough of whatever. But it is, I think also it's like really different sides of people because I'm usually delving into like tell me about like really specifics about either your work or your business, and you guys are just if I'm interpreting this right, kind of more like tell us everything, like go ahead.
Like I'm obsessed with reading biographies, and when I go into these like restaurants or if I go to these art shows or concerts or something, like whatever they're doing I appreciate, but I don't understand how it came to be, and I want to know that story.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, I completely understand it's not a bad thing to, like, create your business and that be the thing you're presenting and not yourself. Because, like, that's something I wrestle with the podcast is, like, I'm kind of creating a brand out of my face.
Yeah.
And, like, it helps that I have a friend doing it with me, but, like, that's kind of what I'm doing.
It is weird. Like, it's,
But I want to know, like, Helen, like, how did you guys start this? Like, this is an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Like, please tell me. And so that's more of, I think, how we kind of approach it.
Yeah, I'm going to be so honest. I, like, really love just kind of chasing a wind. Like, I don't really care at all. But I also know that, like, when I listen to a podcast, I mostly just kind of want to be entertained. Like I don't think I like go into it really wanting to be like, I don't know. I just think I learn so much all the time. It's like kind of exhausting to think that there'd be like, I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, I also like just different moods or different reasons.
We also listen to different podcasts. Like he listens to comedians and I listen to like self-help type business owner type.
When I do listen to those people, I want to learn things about them that you would never learn in another. Like if I like could have on like, I don't even know. Like if I could have on somebody like what's Dyson's first name? Is it John? James. If I could have on James Dyson, that would be like a dream guest of ours. We think he's like one of the best inventors alive right now. Maybe the best inventor, the best thinker, the best, what's that thing that Andrew Thompson's, the industrial designer. He's the best industrial designer alive today, in our opinion. At least that we know of. And anyways, I would probably want to be like, you're so perfect. Like, why? Like, what are you not saying? Because like, I'm really interested in being like, surely you like have like diarrhea sometimes or something. Like,
tell me about your mom dying.
Yeah,
tell me about your
I'm like, surely like you had to like pay someone to cut your yard because you were like, I don't have time and I hate cutting my yard. But a lot of times you just see like the put together perfect version of these people, and I'm really interested in these like weird like corners of their life, I guess, if that makes any sense. But I do think that Myres is like, that's where the yin and yang I feel like might be helpful is like Myres is going to definitely keep us on.
I call myself the guardrails.
Yeah.
I keep us kind of moving in a direction.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, well, and I think both of those things are helpful. Can you talk a little bit more, I guess, about your partnership? Like you've mentioned a couple of things like that, but even maybe some logistics, like who does what, but then also just like how you balance each other.
I do all the production stuff, so I cut up all the shorts and do things like that. Stephen does a lot more branding. I guess we can both just speak to what we do, but I do the production stuff, cut up clips, shorts, and I do most of the booking.
Yeah, I think just in general, like especially early on, I probably had a lot of the connections and stuff, and then that's kind of evened out more so. Myres does a lot of the booking now.
Well, I think that grows too because once you have a record of having a podcast, I feel like it's easy to do a cold reach out. Yeah. Like when you don't have, when you're doing your first 10 episodes, it's hard to be like, like there's nothing here, but believe me, you know, like come to this house and
we had a bunch of our friends on at first who like own businesses and stuff, and Stephen knew them from you know, just church stuff. And whatever else.
Yeah. Being around and stuff.
Yeah. So that was probably the first at least 20, 25 episodes, I would guess.
Yeah, like my friend Tucker, dates this girl named Eliza, and Eliza's best friends with Hannah, and Hannah like it's just a friend of mine because I went to high school with this guy named Tucker. So even though she's like, James Beard, I don't think had ever like done a podcast before. Had she done your podcast before? Or, yeah. Maybe she had done a podcast. I don't freaking know.
No, yeah.
And but it was like that was our highest performing episode, got us a bunch of followers and yada yada yada. And then how did we meet Cole? Stefan.
I think I cold messaged him.
Oh, okay. We just
we
knew
really
RMR because you like had just so.
Well,
I just think about different connections.
I'm really into cars, so a lot of the car related guests I've just like pretty much cold messaged. But also like now we've done over 100 episodes, so a lot of times at the end of an episode I'll just talk to the guests and be like, who do you think we should have on?
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And then they'll just like give me the contact because they're like, oh, my best friend runs this like bookstore, and I'm like, sick.
Yeah.
Well, do you have an opinion on friends versus people you don't know? Like, do you enjoy one or the other, or is it just this like the same?
It's definitely easier with friends, in some sense, just from like a social interaction perspective. Like you already have like some level of chemistry. It's more exhilarating if we can reach that level of like having a good chat with someone that we've never met before, like that day, I would say.
Which is funny because for me it's kind of the opposite, but I think that's because my podcast is different. Like, because my friends tend to go in the conversational direction, and I'm like, and then I'll have regular listeners who are like, my mom, who's like, that was like when I had Andrew Thompson on, she was like, this is not like, you guys just like, you didn't stay on topic. I'm like, no, we didn't. But that's because we're friends. So it is, it's hard. It feels a little less like the Localist podcast because we just drift into like wanting to talk about regular
just like
stuff.
whatever.
We're also like,
I definitely think there's a correlation with like quality of episode and like quality of friendship, and in like a bad way. Like if like the closer we are with people, like the more I'm like, oh, I can kind of just like derp off or whatever. And it's way more fun for me, but I think for everybody else it probably stinks.
Well, and it's like they're inside jokes, or you skip things because they're understood, and sometimes it's like sometimes that is difficult to translate. But it also depends on what people are looking for in a podcast. Because if you are just like, I just want to listen to something fun, which I kind of more go on tangents with that. Like I'll be like, I'm really stressed and I just want like fun conversational podcasts. And then if it's like everything is fine in my life, I'm more like,
let's get in the book.
So but if you're looking for a fun longer fun podcast, I feel like that is good. But it's just interesting. Do you feel like your friends are, and I'm not trying to call it like specific friends, but are they like supportive of the podcast? Like, are they, because sometimes it's like the the prophet isn't respected in his hometown kind of thing. Like sometimes your friends are the ones that are like, why would anyone, why would anyone listen to, like for me, like why would somebody listen to you talk for an hour? Or just like, I have one friend who's trying to be nice, but she's always like, well, I always like turn it on so you get the stream, but I never listen. I'm like, I don't need the stream. Like, why would you continue to tell me that you don't like the podcast? But are they like more supportive, less supportive? Do they like share it and like, amplify your reach or whatever? Or
I mean, so we've been doing it for 2 years now and some months. I've kind of made the decision. I think we should try and turn this into like something substantial, like as a business. And I feel like since I've verbalized that, I've received a lot more support than we probably had in the last 2 years. Because people are like, oh, cool. He's like actually like trying to do this thing. It's not just his like pet project or whatever. And that also means I've been like putting out a lot more content and stuff like that. So it's just like on people's minds more. But I would say it's more like second and third tier friends in my experience. That like it's either my parents love it or it's like a guy that I had class with in college is messaging me being like, dude, this one was sick. I don't know if you're...
I mean, it is funny. I think podcasts in general, like, I don't really know like how consistent anyone is in anything nowadays, but like with our best friends, usually what will happen is like they won't listen for a really long time, but then like somebody will be on that's like really interesting to them, and then they'll go back and listen, and then they'll tell us like, I forgot how good this podcast was, or blah blah blah. And but I just think about Cole did that after we had, I don't know, maybe West Teague on or something. Cole
I
Evans
remember
did.
that.
But
Yeah.
anyways, like, yeah, they don't really listen like a ton. I also just think that they don't really listen. It's not like they're listening to other podcasts instead. But then we have like some people who are like loyalists, and like they listen to every single episode, but like they're not that close with us.
Yeah.
In real life.
I think
real
that
life.
the second or third tier is kind of like, I think that's true for me too. It's kind of, which is fine because it's like my best friends. I'm not expecting them to be fans. Not like,
Right.
I wouldn't consider, I don't think I have fans anyway, but you know, like followers
Sure.
or something. Like they're my friends. It's a different thing. So yeah, I think that probably plays out for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It is-
asking is part of it. Like in the past, it's been like my birthday, and I'll post like on my Instagram, like, hey, if you could share, you know, like if you liked a podcast, if you share the reel or give me a review, like that's what I want.
Right.
And when I actually ask for that, I get it. But it's always a weird, uncomfortable thing.
I
Of
think
like,
there's
how
like
much-
definitely a culture of like amongst like our community being like, we definitely like touch into like the lower age of our like friends have been online since birth, like essentially since like all like since they're 12 years old or whatever. It's like their entire life. So like that is like they do stuff like, I don't even know. Like the other day, this guy named Micah that I'm friends with, who's a freshman in college, he there's no way he has an attention span long enough to listen to this podcast. So,
yeah.
but like Micah, like I had let's see, we have a mutual friend who posted a photo, and I was in that photo. Micah was not on the trip, did not come to that at all, but it was just like a photo of us two on this trip. And then he took that photo and then posted it to his story and said, hang it in the Louvre. But he's like 18, and for him, that's like connection or whatever. So I think that there's an element of like resharing amongst like younger people that's like super common, that happens a lot. Like our episode of, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of like random episodes. Like people will pump their friends if their friends are on or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And but I do think to a certain extent, like people are like cult followers of restaurants or coffee shops or something. So when like June reposted our story, or like if anybody ever collaborate posts with us, like when High Dive like collab posted with us, we got like a bunch more clicks over that. You can like see all those like whatever the tracking like stats or whatever.
I feel like it's the same for me. Like it's
Yeah.
like it is up to the guest. Like if the guest shares it, it's a high performing episode. If not, I mean, if not, you're just gonna get who's subscribed, which is great. But generally speaking, it's not like a ton of people finding, especially because we're both primarily doing people like in and like around Birmingham.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna get like the whole world like looking for this person and finding it randomly. So
yeah, it is like it is so funny to figure out like how that works. I also think too, like just the sheer volume over and volume and consistency, I feel like is like the two things that are like counterproductive to mental health, but very productive to social media for like whatever success.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think it is kind of cool too that we can like we're doing sponsorships for the first time right now, and we like put together, and by we, Myres put together like a marketing packet, I guess, and like to be able to say like if you do your like a marketing run with us, you're gonna get this much reach in 1 month. Like that's a pretty good, like to a certain extent, like it's hard to really control like how much reach you're gonna get on many avenues. Like even like I don't even know like where you would get ads, but there is like an element of like you create this brand and you have this reach, and that is an asset that you're growing.
Yeah.
So in a way, it is like kind of a business because you're just trying to get whatever. So especially if we throw an ad in on a reel, because reels get like 10,000 views or whatever like super easily nowadays. So
I've been doing all the studying, learning about like conversion of different platforms and stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, let me get you guys some more water, and I also want to ask both of those things. I want to talk about ads and reels because I do think like you guys do an amazing job at reels. I'm like,
Thanks.
can I pour this water while I'm
For
under the mic?
sure.
So maybe talk about reels first because I think you do like you clip so many like kind of speak to that because we talked about it a little bit after the last episode, but how do you create a reel? Because it's really time consuming, but I think it's really effective.
Yeah. So from the beginning, I mean, a lot of it's trial error.
Mm-hmm.
At the very start, I think our social media was like chaotic and a mess, and I was just trying stuff.
Is, yeah.
And I put we posted memes, and it was just like crazy.
Yeah.
We need to get a new. What do we call those? The Friday. We called them. There was like a name for them.
Yeah, I don't remember because that was like super early. But yeah, somewhere along the way, I had the idea to basically combine like a ton of teasers into one clip.
Yeah.
And so probably for the last like I would say year and a half or so, we've done. I make this like I go through. I listen to the whole episode. Mark any point where I think like, okay, that's interesting and kind of a tease, kind of a like what's gonna happen next, what are they gonna say next kind of moment, and cut up all those little clips and put them together into something that's close to like 60 to 90 seconds. And so that's like I call it our trailer or like our ad for the episode. I think one of the first people I saw do that was Diary of a CEO.
Yeah.
He creates this like very cinematic, like tell a story and like tease you on like really crazy questions kind of video.
It's weird with him because I listened to the episode and it's very like it feels more like what I'm doing, but if you watch his trailers and stuff, it's very much like
that's the funny thing too.
Like the point of that. Yeah,
I'm obsessed with podcasts, so I listen to a lot of the big podcasts, and it's like interesting, but I'm also trying to learn and like take stuff from them because like they're the best, and if I want to be good, I should copy the best. Yeah, and so that was kind of the strategy for the advertisements, and I think that's like the one thing my even close friends will like talk to me about is like that was really funny, and they probably might not even watch the episode, but they'll like see the clip and laugh at someone saying something. And then more recently, I try and hone in on questions that are like kind of novel. It's not just like how did you get this started, but like when you start a business. This is a question from a recent episode. When you start a business, like, where is the gap where you like stop your job and start the business? And like, how do you handle money in that gap? Because like, to me, I'm thinking, I don't have enough money saved up right now if I needed to like go 6 months without making any money. Yeah. And so like asking questions like that are a bit more novel. Yeah. Because I think the average question could kind of be assumed almost. So I try and find 3 or 4 spots in the whole episode that are questions that I think are more novel. Yeah. And then create a short out of that because I think that'll be more interesting to me and to anyone else.
It's like kind of a weird thing, you know. I'm just trying to think if we had someone on that like opened a cafe or something. Like obviously everyone's answer for why they opened up a cafe is gonna be the same. Yeah. It's like third space, community, blah blah blah. Yeah. But for me, it's like I want to ask them, how has it been realizing that you're only going to make $40K for your entire life? Yeah. And that's like you're essentially being like a civil servant. Like, what is that like? Even though like life isn't about money, but it's
still like a different decision. Especially,
that's what people want.
Yeah.
It's why I didn't choose to open a cafe. I was like, I want to make more money than that.
Yeah.
And I needed to at the time, at least.
And I think that's why. Like that's why people want to hear like how are you different than me, you know? Because a lot of times people are like they're willing to risk it all and do the desk job thing to make, you know. I mean, I guess it's like style of life too. But like for whatever resource it is, whether it be time or money or what's the other one? I don't know, time, money and just like knowledge or something. People have different reasons to do whatever.
Yeah. But a lot of social media stuff is like trial error. Just try stuff and
Well,
figuring
speaking
that
of
out.
the money piece, and I think this goes back to ads too, but would you like to do this full time, or do you think that's is that the plan? Is that this would be a dream, but not necessarily a plan, or where are you falling on that?
I
Myres
think
should
it's
probably answer this.
more of my dream, I think, than
Mhm.
Steven's. I'm always thinking about business ideas and
Yeah.
entrepreneurship and stuff. Like that's just like the whole way I grew up. I grew up
Mhm.
homeschooled and then went to college, so my
Mhm.
whole life has been like kind of figure stuff out on your own
Yeah.
and have like mentors and guides more than like
Mhm.
instructors and teachers.
Yeah.
And so, and also just like the way my personality works, like I just want to like create a life that's different than what average people have.
Yeah.
That just they let people hand them a job
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So anyway,
And Myers desires like a lot of freedom in life, I think.
Yeah.
And having a communication company or whatever you want to call like the industry over what would be like a podcast marketing company or whatever.
Mhm.
Like I think it would be better. I like personally love my day job, so I don't really foresee myself ever leaving
Mhm.
that role. But
what do you do for work?
I'm a college pastor.
Yeah, and I sell insurance.
Yeah.
But I think that there's an element of I really get excited about always partnering with Myres because I think that there is something incredibly cool. I don't know if I like that word right there. There's something incredible.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. There's something incredible to me about starting a company that like preserves like some sort of like I don't know how to say this, like quality and communication, and then also like service to companies through like getting their news across. That I think is like you could go to any. I think this is like a metric that I use. Like you go to any city in the world, and if like the future of word of mouth, like whatever that company, whatever that like LLC, if that existed there, like if you showed up in Seattle, like I'm trying to think of like a stereotypical like hip city, or like even let's go there. Like if you showed up in New York, and the New Yorker didn't exist, New York would be a worse place. But the New Yorker has done that. And I'm not trying to say that we're going to be the New Yorker. We will never even touch their coattails. But like if you showed up in London or if you showed up in Denver and there was a place called like Word of Mouth Denver and you knew it was like a trusted source to go to and gather information about the place and be invited into the city in like a real way, that would be helpful and really cool. And I would like be willing to be a part of that, even if it meant paying for it or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I get really excited, even though I will never do it at a full-time capacity, like being a part of that. And I do think that like monetizing it in some way will be necessary, obviously. So, but I don't know exactly what that looks like. But if there was like, I don't know, it's like if there was like an office in downtown where there was like people that Myres got to employ and be around and kind of like breathe life into that, and there was like a medium for that kind of thing, I think it'd be really cool. And then obviously you get to be a part of that more broad stroke, like the redemption of downtown. Sorry, the renaissance of downtown is also part of the redemption of downtown. So I also think about that gets me really excited too. Myres isn't like from Birmingham, so I think he doesn't get as riled up about this as I do. But I just think about
I do love Birmingham.
talking to Bart Stevens, who grew up in Forest Park in the 70s, and hearing about how terrified people were of downtown, and then thinking that like we could be a part, even though it's like silly or whatever that we have a podcast, like even that, like I feel like being a part of like the redemption of like making downtown not like this scary weird place, but being just another voice and like changing that narrative to like this is an economy of people who want to grow together and be together and like do stuff together, I think is like pretty dang cool. So
yeah, I think we're early in podcasts, to be frank. Podcasts have been around for maybe like 20 years. I don't know,
since
not
iTunes.
even that.
Or since post iTunes, honestly.
Right. And to me this is the modern equivalent of like what talk radio kind of was.
Yeah.
I think radio, once like Spotify and stuff like that came around, split, and it became like music and then talking heads. And I do think that like it'd be cool to kind of integrate that again. But
Yeah.
I learned the other day that if you cast a radio signal, it's some like distance. It's like 10 miles or less.
yeah,
You don't have to abide by licensing rules.
Yeah.
So you can play whatever music you want, and you don't have to pay for it, and you can say whatever you want, and
Right.
you like don't abide by like radio laws.
we have a friend who does this in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I
He
think
has
it
a
would be
continuous
so cool.
radio going.
Yeah.
This is like kind of a dream of ours that I hope no one steals this idea. But like essentially, if you're like you do Birmingham Mountain Radio,
Mhm.
like we already have, but you do it on an even more local level,
Yeah.
and you can play like literally whatever music you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I realized that, because I think that one of the reasons streaming got popular so fast was because everybody hated the radio because the music sucks on the radio. And I think that if you did get on, like there's there's radios in there's two places in London. One's called NTS Radio and one is called Rover. And I think this is like the future too, where I think that we're kind of tapping into the same thing, where if there was like a trusted voice in Birmingham and there was like several episodes throughout the day where you could jump on and listen to music, and then also a talk host that was like not boring, I think that there would be like a lot of there'd be a lot of traction there too.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think we both have a lot of visions for like the podcast being the means by which we can create many other things.
Yeah.
And that would always be like the core business, if you will. But it would be the way that we can try other stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm most inspired by people who are content related creators, or whatever you would call them, who have started a business that kind of like caters directly to their audience.
Mm-hmm.
So my example of this usually is there's a YouTuber whose name is Doug DeMuro, and he's like one of the biggest car YouTubers on social media. He has like 5 million subscribers on YouTube or something. And he's been doing it for forever, and everyone loves him, and he's just this like charming, kind of awkward guy. And he, along with a couple other people, started a car auction website. And now he's made millions and millions of dollars from the car auction website, and it's kind of taken a life of its own even outside of him, to where people use that and they didn't even originally listen to him.
Yeah.
And so like for this business, I think step one for like everyone who's a content creator like is ads.
Yeah.
But my vision for it more long term is like, I want to be a part of uplifting Birmingham because I do love this place.
Yeah.
And Nashville and Austin and some of the hot cities have a lot of podcasters. Birmingham doesn't have very many yet.
Yeah.
And to like, just to take a lot of the ethos of like what we want word of mouth to be and to like bring that into the world in different vehicles would be really cool. So we have ideas for what that looks like, if that's like some kind of local radio station or like hosting live events or like creating a co-working space or like something like that.
Well, honestly, technology is changing so much, the city's changing so much. That's probably a better way to go about it, is like we know the idea of what we want to create instead of I want to do this exact thing.
Yeah.
And then either the world changes and that doesn't make sense anymore, or somebody else does it first or something. But that makes a lot of sense, I think.
Yeah. The challenge is like I really want to uplift Birmingham, but also like if we're going to grow a podcast, it has to be bigger than Birmingham. And so there will be a lot of growing pains in that process to figure out how to like best navigate, because we do love the like local thing and we want to support that. But this can't self-sustain really if it's just about Birmingham. I mean, like it could sustain, but I can't quit my job to do that,
exactly.
you know?
Which is exactly kind of takes us full circle to kind of the differences between what we're doing. Like that's one thing that I've found is that I've tried to do the Localist in other cities, but it doesn't like. There are a lot of pain points to doing that. Like if you're just looking online, you don't know what's actually good. You just know who has really good marketing. Whereas here you might say like they have a great website, but this place is actually terrible.
Yeah.
But I know that because I live here. So it's hard to replicate in other cities. So instead of I've sort of tried to do that, but instead of doing that, my boss was like, will sponsor the podcast. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'm not going to probably grow the Localist into like a huge thing, but it works for my life because I'm getting paid by
Right.
this other guy, and he's
Yeah.
he's sponsoring the podcast.
And I think the
But-
way that like it will most likely play out is that like we don't just interview Birmingham people,
Yeah.
but we bring them here. Like I'm really adamant about doing in-person episodes, and we've always been adamant about
Yeah.
that because it's just like this vibe is better
Yeah,
than
it
if we're
is,
on
yeah.
Zoom.
Yeah.
I
I was podcasting during COVID, so I could say yes,
Yeah.
it is better.
And you're underneath your stairwell.
Yeah. Well, I actually have to wrap up because I feel like we could literally go on forever. But also, if you're listening and you want to hear more, I was on Word of Mouth podcast. You can hear more from all of us there. We'll put that in the show notes. And then tell people, we'll put this in the show notes too, but just say like where to find you on social and how to listen, that kind of thing.
Stephen is DJ Airplane Legroom.
Yeah.
In other words, I don't have an Instagram.
Yeah.
But
No, Word of Mouth podcast. It's on all the platforms. I think our handle's Word of Mouth Pod or something.
yeah.
And I think the social media is a good entry point because, like you said, I've talked to other people who are like, oh, I follow them on social. And I think eventually you find an episode where you're like, oh, I want to hear more.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys so much for doing the mega podcast with me
course.
and then also just coming on today.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks for
course,
having
yeah.
us.
thanks.
It's been great.
It's fun.
Thank you so much to Stephen and Myres for coming on today and for having me as a guest on their podcast. Again, if you haven't listened to that, you can find the link in the show notes. If you're in Birmingham and you want to experience the Localist live, we actually have a live Localist Lab event every month. So they're at Saturn in Avondale. We have free Ladybird tacos, free coffee, and really great talks from experts that I've handpicked because I really love what they have to say. So we are talking about marketing for small businesses every single time. Find a link in the show notes because tickets are free and I would love to see you there. The Localist podcast is written and produced by me, Carrie Rollwagen. Our outreach manager is Hannah Cragen. Taylor Davis is our showrunner. And we are produced right here in the Infomedia studios. Our engineer today is Paul Bryant, and Emery Lambert is also in the studio as our production assistant. Thanks so much to Infomedia for sponsoring this show and making the work that we do possible. Until next time, whether you're buying from a local business or running one, remember that you're making our community stronger every day.